Welcome to episode 6 of me building my dream van conversion. I would like to tour and play in all 69 cities in the UK. So I bought this really cheap battered transit van, and I'm going to turn it from a messy work van into a living space that's heated and comfortable. 1, 2, 3, 4. This episode we're going to be building a bed for the van. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to make a bed, so I'm going to make it up as I go along, as usual, and we'll see if it works. My initial instinct is to make a kind of frame out of wood, hopefully thick enough wood that it'll support my weights, but I also want it to be like a cupboard, so I want it to have cupboard doors and things as well. Okay, so this is what we're making. We're making the bed, which is going to go down this side of the van, and it's going to be built in two sections so it can be easily disassembled and put back together. It's going to be a cube shape and an L shape, and they're going to bolt together in the middle just here. This little bit's here, here's the wheel arch. So I've done a lot of measuring, a lot of cutting, a lot of planning, and hopefully now we can make the bed section. I think what we need now is a wood cutting montage. So for this wood, what I did is I bought two massive long lengths of wood from Wicks. I had to buy new wood, unfortunately, because I needed the length and the sort of consistency of the wood. And I supplemented it with a little bit of extra wood that I had kicking around the garage. I think about 20 quid's worth of timber, really. It wasn't a lot. But by buying these two big long pieces and milling them down, I think I saved a lot of money. And it also let me get a lot of consistent timber. And that's all the wood sorted and ready for assembly. So here you can see the two sections of the bed that are going to bolt together. One of them I've already built, and I didn't film the building of that, and there was a reason for that, two reasons actually. Firstly, it was because I was really pushed for time and I just wanted to crack on. The second reason is I'm using exactly the same process for the L-shaped bit as I am for the box-shaped bit. So you're not going to see anything new or different, but because this is the second time around I've done it, I know what I'm doing now and I'm not going to make as many mistakes. This gives you a little bit of an idea of the logic behind what I'm building. You can see what we're trying to make. We're trying to make this little L shape to go with the box. It's going to fit around the wheel arch. Left a little bit too much space around that wheel arch, but it is what it is. Now the next part of the process is the measuring part. I've mentioned before that I think measuring is really, really important, and I think being really anal retentive at this stage of the process, it just really is the secret weapon to making your construction look really good in the future. I'm using a tool here that I really love. It's called a square, and it's an antique tool. And what it does is if you put it against a flat surface, it lets you draw a line at a right angle to that flat edge. And most saws you can buy actually have a square built into the handle, which I didn't know. Now I want to talk a little bit about the specifications of what I'm trying to build with the bed. It's got to be great storage space. That's important to me. It's got to be really strong. In my head, I'm imagining a flat top surface made of plywood that you can hinge upwards and have really good access to put big things like guitars inside it. And I want there to be enough space to put a guitar stand and a mic stand and speakers and all the things that you'd need to do small scale gigs. It's also got to house the heater because I need to keep warm. And it also needs to be completely removable for if I want to use the van as a van, a normal van. So I've got a lot of specifications. I'm being quite demanding, but I think sometimes it's good to be demanding. It's good to try and get everything you want out of what you're building. Now, what I'm doing at the minute is cutting right angle joints that hopefully will allow me to screw through the top of these pieces and join them in a really strong way. Now, I've never done this before. This is well beyond my skills of carpentry, so I'm making it up as I go along, and I'm going to see how it comes out. So here I'm starting to put those right angle joints together, and it was a bit of a trial and error process. Some of the first ones that I cut it a little bit too far. I didn't leave enough tolerance, so I ended up having to pack it with either cardboard or I used some old belt material to pack some of them. But that's okay, because nobody will ever know. So for each joint, to make sure it's secure, I'm gluing it with wood glue and then putting a screw through it. I think these screws I had to cut down each one to actually make it the right size, which is very frustrating. But it came out really nicely. I must admit, I'm really glad that none of you are able to check my tolerances on this carpentry. It is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to work, and it does. So there. So when I put those frames together, they were a little bit wobbly, understandably. You might be too under the circumstances. So yeah, I decided that I would strengthen them by making these little bits out of scrap wood, and they'll be like tensioners to hold the thing in the right place and stop it from shifting around. So now it's time for the really satisfying bit, final assembly, getting all this stuff put together and seeing how elegantly and prettily it goes into one piece. Yeah. If I could change something about what I did in this process, I'd design a way for the bed to be stiffened in different directions, because it actually is a bit like this on the L shape, but the problem is that the tensioners all point in the same direction. So in one direction it's incredibly sturdy, but in the other direction it can be a bit flippy floppy. And when I've been carrying the bed on my own, it's been kind of bending in the centre, and I think that might have weakened the structure a little bit, but it's strong enough to support me. If anybody out there is mad enough to try and copy my design, that's an improvement that I would make there. How good does that look? That looks really sturdy. It looks like it's made by somebody who's not a Muppet at all. It's like one of those Chippendale transit vans. Ultimate test. Can it take the weight of a musician who's definitely not entering his chubby ears? That's actually really comfortable. So that's pretty perfect really, it slots perfectly into place, there's loads of room inside it. I've just got to put some ply on top of it now and put a hinge on it, and some ply on the sides, and in the sides I'm going to cut oval cupboards like the kind that you'd get on boats. In boats everything has a kind of lip around it, so stuff can't roll out and roll about the place, and that's the kind of cupboard I want to design for this. So very shortly there's going to be quite a big jump forward in time, which I apologise for. You're not going to see me cutting the cupboard doors. There's a reason for that. Basically what happened is I was kind of mocking up the bed and I put the side panels on and the top on. And very spontaneously, me and Luna found out that we were going to have to drive all the way to Manchester, and it was the perfect opportunity to sleep in the van for the first time and film the first episode of 69 Cities. So I had to make the bed very, very quickly. And part of the bed that I've not talked about yet is that I really wanted the bed to be something that takes up half the van but slides out and transforms into a full bed that would take up the full surface of the van. So like a king size bed with loads of room to suit 2 or 3 people if we wanted 2 or 3 people sitting in the van. I wanted it to be versatile as possible. And what self-respecting rock and roll musician has a single bed in his touring van? I don't want a massive bed, you know, I want a king-size bed. I want it so that if somebody sleeps over, they're going to be super comfortable and they're going to be like, wow, Sam, it's so big, it's such a big bed. Yeah, probably time to stop talking. So the job now is to drill a load of holes in the 2 pieces of the bed frame and bolt them together with some nice big bolts. Sweet! Now we've got an attached bed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut some little pockets for hinges. I've got these hinges for £3 from Home Bargains for a set of 3, which is exactly what I needed. So not Home Bargains, B&M. B&M for the win. Well done, B&M. I'll be back for more of your reasonably priced hingy goodness. So right here I'm varnishing one of the pieces of ply for the top of the bed. There's 2 so that it can fold out. I don't have any footage of me fitting this, but this wasn't through laziness, this was through the camera battery running out just at the most important moment. So I forgot to film making these pieces, but these are the sides for my cupboard and the cupboard doors, and I've painted them yellow because I really like the colour. Now I've got to put some hinges on them. I know it's really rather rubbish of me that I didn't show any footage of me cutting these cupboard doors out, but I have another cupboard door to cut for the bulkhead, so you are going to see how I do that. It's just going to be later on in the process. So what I'm doing at the minute is I'm getting some folded pieces of cardboard and I'm putting them in the gaps between the cupboard doors and the cupboards, so that when I attach the hinges there's going to be a suitable gap. And it's not going to be rubbing, in theory, but it did end up rubbing, and as you'll see later on I had to file off quite a lot of matter and repaint it to get it closing and opening in a nice healthy way, using a nice punch there to get the holes for the hinges in the right place. So in this bit I'm installing the louvre, the thing for the heater that points the air in a certain direction. The Chinese diesel heater has arrived, and that's going to be the subject of an episode very soon. Chinese diesel heater hell. These diesel heaters are famous for having some of the worst translated instruction manuals you could possibly imagine. None of it makes any sense. Just giving a bit of a file to make sure that it shuts properly. I want my cupboards to have both positions, open and closed, and anywhere in between. Look at that premium cupboardry. Well, the hubbard will be green with envy. It's one very beautiful and elegant hole that I'm very excited to get a cupboard door on. When I was a kid, I really wanted to live in a yellow submarine. For obvious reasons, and although this is not living in a yellow submarine, it's living in a white transit van, This cupboard is probably the closest I'm going to get to living in a yellow submarine. This kind of submarine suite. Okay, so this bit is quite an interesting solution. I had a problem in that, like, when I put those hinges on, I was screwing to very thin plywood, and the screws were just poking out the other end. So what I decided to do is I cut some little blocks of wood for the screws to bite into. So the hinge will kind of sit on these blocks of wood, and what will be great about it is these blocks of wood will also stop it from hinging inside, so it'll only be able to open outwards. It's going to be a little less pretty looking, but it's going to be stronger, and strength is optimum for bed success. All ready for hinges. So these little posts that I'm about to paint, they're the pieces that are going to go to the side of the bed. They're going to screw onto the side of the bed, and then there's going to be little pieces of welding rod that go through it, and they're going to attach these little wooden frames that I've already built. You're going to see them occasionally propping up open the bed, but that's what's going to extend outwards from the side of the bed to support the second part of the bed, the king size bed, for when the bed folds out. So those are supports for the second side of the bed.
All will become clear in a future episode.
Check it out. All finished. So I'm so happy with the way this bed's come out. It really has been pretty special, and this has been a very long episode, so thank you for your time, and I'm sorry it's taking so long. I don't think there was anything worth cutting out. There's going to be some extra stuff to do to this bed. We still got to add clips, we still got to add like some pull cords and stuff to make the cupboards open, but it's really coming along, and I'm very, very happy with that. Just a quick reminder to say, if you'd like to support me in making future videos and future music, I now have a Patreon at www.patreon.com/Sam Harrison, and you can visit it and you can sign up for £1 a month and get loads and loads of exclusive content, as well as early access to everything that I make. But there's no obligation, I just really appreciate you being here, enjoying my art, and being with me on this journey. So thanks very much. You rock, and I'll see you next time for episode 7 of Sam's Van Build.